Welcome back to another episode of the Unblock Your BS podcast. And today we've got one of my Healthy Mentality members coming on to share his journey and his experience. Now, most men don't start a healing journey because they want to find themselves, right? They start usually because something or someone breaks. Meaning it's usually the moment she says, I can't do this anymore, or she's threatening divorce, or she's completely checked out, and she's just biding her time until she can actually file, or she feels stuck and doesn't know how to get out of it. And you keep trying and you keep trying to plan all these date nights, and you're trying to fix and you're trying to show up more, and nothing is ever good enough. And then you're just like, I don't know what to do anymore. Right. So usually this is when you're forced to confront your patterns. Now, a lot of people want to numb, distract, avoid. By all means, do you, but those are not the people that are listening to this podcast, right? And so it's starting to confront the thoughts you thought you knew, right? The reality that you thought you knew, the future that you thought you were living into, the value and worth that you had as a partner. And now all of a sudden, everything you thought you knew is no longer getting you the outcome that you thought it was going to get you. And you're left feeling lost. You're feeling disconnected. You're feeling maybe shame. You're feeling completely rejected. You're feeling bitter, maybe resentful, angry, right? All of that means there's opportunities and an invitation from your nervous system to say, hey, we got some healing work to do. And that certainly was the case for Brian. So likely you were just like Brian, that you did everything that you were told as being a good man or a good partner. You protected, you provided, you keep the peace, right? You work, you make sure everybody is safe, right? But no one ever taught you how to lead with presence instead of performance. And I mean presence as in you being present in the moment, not presence as in gifts, just to clarify. Right. And that's where most men find themselves when they end up on a call with me asking, well, what do I do now? How do I fix this? And that was exactly the case for today's guest, Brian. He's a husband and a father whose marriage has been hanging on by a thread when we first connected a couple of months ago. So, through his journey inside the program, and it was a fast turnaround for him, he used every tool, every resource, every skill that I taught him and started seeing results fairly quickly within a matter of weeks, not just in his marriage, but in how he felt inside his own body and mind. He began to understand his past, his patterns, and the deeper reasons behind the disconnect he'd been experiencing with his wife. And through learning nervous system regulation, obviously breathwork, I'm a big fan of breathwork, and building emotional awareness, he stopped abandoning himself for someone else's approval. He learned how to understand his emotions, how to understand her emotions, right? And how to stay grounded when life or love gets really messy. So, over the past few months, he's been learning how to show up as the kind of man that he's proud of. And you'll hear him give specific examples in this episode of how the old Brian would have responded in conflict, rejection, or stress, and how the new Brian responds today, much more calm, present, confident, that even his children have made notice and mentioned to him how they expected him to respond in a certain way, and he didn't. That's the theme of today's episode. Brian's journey went from desperation, trying to save his marriage, to really more of a grounded leadership. And again, we'll explain what all of that means and not this like woo woo theory based conversation, but in actionable ways in which Brian's doing that in his own life. He's no longer chasing outcomes. He's choosing to be a man that he's proud of. And his family gets to benefit from that version of him every day now. And so if you've been doing everything you can think of to fix your marriage or save a relationship or get her to choose you back and it still feels like it's slipping away, this episode is your invitation that healing starts with you first. That's leadership. So let's get into today's episode with Healthy Mentality member Brian. All right, Brian, welcome to the Unblock Your BS podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, we're surviving.
We're surviving.
We're putting one foot in front of the other.
All right, we're above ground today. It's a good day. All right, so let's get a little context of how you kind of came into the world of healthy mentality. What, I guess, kind of tell me how you found me or what content resonated with you that also had you interested in learning more about the program.
I came across you on TikTok,
Uh-huh.
and I was doom scrolling through TikTok. I knew, and at the time that my marriage was in extreme crisis. I was also in extreme crisis. Was contemplating all of the mistakes I have made in my life that led me to where I am, or where I was. Uh, I was looking for the magic pill to fix everything all at once.
Yeah.
But and I honestly don't remember which TikTok it was, but it resonated with the idea that um, there is a process, there is a um, method to return to myself
Mhm.
and what kind of healing I was needing. Now, at the time, I had no idea what kind of trauma and little t and big T trauma that I was suppressing for the last 40 years. And So I came across your TikTok. I messaged you, I shared my situation, and your response resonated with me because you understood the underlying issues at case. It wasn't a oh yeah, that's I know where you are, I understand. It was a this is probably what got you where you are
Yeah.
realization. And we talked and we discussed how I had the moment, the straw that broke the camel's back was betraying my wife's trust.
Yeah.
Not in an affair, but something that I've learned was just as emotionally scarring. Breaking that trust um, was the pinnacle moment for discovering my trauma and the trauma in the marriage and the crisis that we were in. Um, what you helped me learn what led me to that very specific moment in a very short period of time while we were talking on the interview process.
Yeah.
And the aha moments that I had led me to the desire originally to do whatever it took to fix my marriage.
Yep.
That was my initial goal. Um, and the course was a lighthouse for me in a storm and a crisis that I was.
Yeah. So before we go into once you've joined the program, I just want to kind of recap that. So there was this moment and this action that you took that really was from, I mean, kind of talk to me about where your mind was at that you needed this information that was the violation. I don't want to get into too many details, but there was something that you were seeking or something you were unsure of. What had happened in the relationship up to that point where it was almost like this desperation to find more information or to get more information?
Um, it was years of growing distance between my wife and I, and uh, feelings of rejection and resentment. It was a cycle: rejection, resentment, people pleasing. I would reach out for a connection. I would get feel rejected in that connection, and then I would get resentful, and at times I would emotionally punish in retaliation, and it was a cycle that we were both in.
Yeah.
Um, that you know, reach for connection, resentment, or rejection, and then resentment, and that cycle has eroded my self worth.
Yeah.
Um, and I was questioning my position in the marriage,
Mhm.
the strength of our marriage. I knew in my soul things were not good,
Mhm.
but I thought that what I was doing as the traditional male husband was the right thing.
And what's that? What was the perception of the traditional masculine?
For me, at that point, provide a home, provide a car, provide food, provide clothing, provides physical security. Um, just be the man of the house.
Yeah.
That was the 80s and the 70s and the 80s. Man of the house is you put food on the table, you provide a home, you provide financial security, you work, and you are defined by your success in those manners. And if you can't do those, then you're a failure.
Mhm.
Um, and I truly thought that I was doing the right thing for my family and for my wife.
Yeah.
Um, not knowing, having no idea what emotional security was or is, not knowing my own emotional needs and desires. You know, I truly felt that I was doing what was right by my family and my wife.
Right.
Inside, something was missing.
Yeah.
And that's what was causing me to question whether or not um, my marriage was safe.
Yeah.
Whether
Because if I remember right, and maybe I'm misreading it or misremembering it, but you were worried that she was getting involved with someone else, or there might be somebody else. Is that what sent you on the tailspin of like trying to find that
um,
information?
not necessarily.
Okay.
In our 17 years together, I had never questioned her faithfulness to me.
Yeah.
Um, what was missing was the validation and the acknowledgement of what I was doing was right.
The
And
appreciation, so to speak.
yeah, the appreciation. I was missing the physical connection,
Mm.
touch, hugs, you know. Um,
Sex.
I mean, the sex really before the issue was growing more frequent and was more satisfying for both.
Yeah.
Um,
Or even that's confusing, right? It's like, there's an emotional disconnect, something's off, but then when you're looking at all of the actions of being the man and the marriage, like on the 3D and the outside world, this is where like the mental health side of it, it's like, it looks like everything is in order. So my brain is going in a tailspin because it doesn't feel right or it feels off. But like we're checking all the boxes.
right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I felt the emotion. I didn't know it at the time, but it
Yeah.
was the emotional disconnect from my wife that I was feeling. And I didn't know what that was. And so I was searching for answers to what I was feeling and why I was feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I went about it the wrong way. There's no doubt around, but I didn't know any other way to do it
Right.
either.
It was an emotional response and almost like this desperation to just connect the dots of what you were experiencing.
Why isn't she happy? What that was what I was looking for is why isn't she happy? What can I do or
Mhm.
change or what can I fix?
Exactly. Nailed it.
So as a fixer, and as a male mentality, our job is to fix and provide, and um, that isn't that I didn't know what it was that I was missing. So I
Yeah.
was looking for what I was missing to fix.
Yeah. Very logical, right? Clearly, I don't know what the problem is, so let's go find what the problem is, or let's go find a problem to fix and then get mad that it didn't actually solve the main problem. Okay, so you joined the program. We threw your head in, deep dive in. Kind of talk to me about just your experience and first getting in there and even the breath work or the trainings or the community and the other men. Talk to me about what that was like in the first week or two for you.
Well, I signed up for the program on a Sunday morning, and then Sunday evening I visited my first coaching call, and I was there as an observer. Um, I didn't really interact much, but I saw a community of men that were all in some form or fashion dealing with exactly the same thing that I was. Um, Desperation, loss, grieving, um, frustration, anger, resentment, just, I mean, a myriad of emotions that I didn't want to acknowledge or understand. And I saw them all in the same boat, so to speak, with um, struggling to find the paddle to guide the boat. Uh, and it was eye opening that for so long I have felt alone,
Yeah.
and I was not alone. Each man in that group has a different scenario or a different situation, but you boil it down to its roots, to its core, and so much of it is the same.
Yeah.
And it was I discovered it was a lack of understanding what we were feeling,
Mm.
what emotions we're battling or suppressing or hiding. Um, the first coaching call was like overwhelming. Everything was very overwhelming. I was in crisis myself. I hadn't slept or eaten in
Oh,
48
that's right.
hours at that point. I was sleeping 2 hours a night at most, waking up every hour on the hour. I was um, a mess,
Yeah.
100% a nervous mess, and looking through the course guide and the process and everything, I dove deep into it. I went head first because I knew that I needed to get out of where I was. I was searching for the tools to get there. I had no idea what breath work was. And I don't think many people out there who have had it explained to them truly can understand until you physically do it. Uh, the uh, the process is truly um, eye-opening to finding what's lying underneath, really letting that guard down and saying, "Okay, I'm not fighting this anymore. Let's bring this up. Let's bring this up. Let's magnify it. Let's feel it. Let's acknowledge it, and then address it, or just acknowledge it and let it be."
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes just acknowledging what has happened is so much power to releasing it.
Hmm.
You have a great video of a polar bear under duress, and the process that polar bear goes through naturally um, is a process that we humans, or men specifically, um, have subsided and neglected and rejected because we're not animals. We're civilized individuals.
Right.
We might be civilized, but we're still deep down. We're still just nervous animals.
Right. And that's what's beautiful. And the video you're referencing is demonstrating how the body can discharge trauma because animals don't walk around with a therapist and chat GPT all day. They have to, in order to survive, discharge trauma to keep moving forward. And so the reason why I have that video in there is to give you an example of what a body does when it's discharging trauma, which can be a little bit jarring to look at, but that's, you don't see people doing that and shaking off the trauma throughout their day because it looks weird or it looks crazy, but that's essentially what we're trying to reenact in the body is letting the body complete the trauma healing process and get our brain out of the way. Because our brain wants to tell us to stay stuck, repress, avoid, numb, distract, because that's what society has taught us. But when you can actually learn to get out of the way of your body discharging whatever it needs to discharge to complete the trauma cycle, that we don't carry those triggers as much forward. We know how to process them. They just don't affect us the same when we can discharge that energy. And that's what's, I mean, again, that's what's the side effect of breath work when you can actually get into it.
So
Yeah.
I started with the 5-minute breath work, and I use that quite frequently throughout the week or throughout the day. In fact, honestly, I did it today before our podcast here because I was feeling anxious and nervous about what was going on,
Yeah.
and I acknowledged that anxiousness. And that there's two halves to it. So on the second half, it was, what am I wanting to feel? What am I wanting for the rest
Mhm.
of the day? And it was calmness.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted, calmness. Not peace. I'm always searching for peace, but my direct replacement was calmness.
Yeah.
To sit down and do this podcast. So the process, the guide work, the course work that is through the system is laid out in a very logical manner
Mhm.
for me. It bringing in where I am, what I'm dealing with, how to address, how to identify. There's building what I want to be as a man, be my authentic self.
Yeah.
that was a very eye-opening situation. Um, and there's a lot of information on just what it is to be a husband in 2025. Um, that picture that I had in my head of what a good husband was not what my wife needed.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I don't
My
speak directly to like, oh, here's what husbands are. Because I want to be sure it's like it's not Tara's view of this. You took the training and like interpret it in your own way, and I want to understand
Yeah,
exactly what the
so,
process was.
we talked about what I thought was a good husband, provide food, home, shelter, stuff like that. Um, what I was missing and what's missing for a lot of men, I think, and a lot of my friends that I've talked to, I have friends that are going through very similar situations. Um, and I see them missing the emotional connection, the identifying and the emotional safety that my wife was looking for or is looking for, that my actions took. She did feel relatively emotionally safe with me. There were times where I was very dismissive of her and her feelings because I didn't understand what was going on. But now looking back and going through the coursework and figuring out what I feel is as a good husband, as an emotionally supportive husband, as a husband who doesn't try to fix, but sits and is just there with her. That's what
Yeah.
she needs. She needs somebody who's just gonna say, "Okay, I'm not fixing this, but I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna understand and I'm going to empathize and be vulnerable myself and share those feelings that I'm having, that you're having, identify them, work with them, um, just be present. So
Being the
many
keyword.
times, be present, being that was our coaching call this weekend. Don't do,
A
just be.
human being, not a human doing. And oftentimes women need you to be with them, not do
Yeah,
something for them. Yeah.
I had no idea. I dismissed the trauma that she was feeling from losing her cat. I
Mm.
took us on a vacation and I was very, very upset and frustrated and mad that here I am taking you on this great vacation and you're sitting in the room and don't want to do anything.
Mhm.
I had lost my dog years before and I pushed through it. I dismissed that pain and that feeling. And that was my coping mechanism.
Right.
I was a doing. And I look back and I realized she just needed me to be there with her.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be doing anything. She just needed me to be there and understand and respect the process that she needed to go through
Mhm.
to heal that trauma. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And that learning to that guide, learning to be the husband that she needed. Each wife needs a different husband. Nobody is cookie cutter. There's no
Yeah.
combination. You have to step back and look. And this program helps you to look at what's going on and where your opportunity is to show up as the man or the husband your wife needs, or as the husband or just the man that you need to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was that process of learning how to step back, how to identify was I don't know if it was your main goal of that
The side effect.
but that's what I took from it was stepping back and looking and just observing. Um,
Yeah. Well, and that intentionality about becoming a leader and not letting your partner's emotions be the lead in the relationship. Because so many men will pull back from their woman's emotions or not know how to handle it. And so then that becomes the thing that leads the relationships is whatever mood she's got going on. And we do talk about women's hormones in the program that they're going to fluctuate. And if you don't understand even women's hormones to at least a baseline level to give context to what you're experiencing from your partner, and you're trying to apply your lens and way you would operate into her experience, you're going to be missing about 90% of what's actually going on with her, which in a lot of ways with women in their hormones and their moods and their shifting, and that is assuming a normal hormonal state that just cycles every 30 days or so, much less when we get into pregnancy or perimenopause or menopause. Um, if women don't feel safe in their emotions because their emotions and their hormones are lying to them, essentially, like we feel very sensitive about things or we're very angry one week, the man really becomes almost this rock, is what I call it, that our emotional waves get to crash against for us to go, is this safe or is this not safe? But if you are emotionally reactive when we are, then we're both going on this roller coaster and nobody knows what's up, down, left, or right. And we're just very reactive. And that doesn't feel safe as a woman either. And so it really becomes interesting when men start to recognize and observe, like you said, what's really at play here. How can I just be with her without having to fix it or solve it? Oftentimes, that's when a woman can start to feel safe in her own body of like, okay, my moods and my emotions are not going to destroy my world on any given week or any given month. And you get to actually step into a leadership role and even hold her accountable of, hey, we won't speak to each other this way. I understand you're having a moment, but you're not going to talk to me like that. Or if intimacy is withdrawn, that we actually address it and we actually get to what the root of that is. A lack of sex and intimacy in a relationship is a symptom. It is not the cause. Right. And so if you're trying to solve for why aren't we having sex, you're going to miss completely why she may not feel the desire for that or the draw to that. And so it's just a way to observe the issues and challenges you're experiencing in a relationship from a new perspective that might get you more information than if we just default to reaction or just default to I'm broken, I'm bad, I'm the problem, she's broken, she's bad, she's the problem. And then we can actually problem solve for what is at play, which oftentimes,
Oh,
and I think
absolutely.
part of your experience has been like, I'm not the only one who's having challenges and showing up in this relationship. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I came to the program feeling that I was broken and um ineffective as a husband and that I needed fixed and that my wife was broken and needed to be fixed and I needed to fix her.
Yeah.
Um and that was where I came from. Through the process I've learned that I'm not broke. I'm wounded. I have trauma.
Yeah.
I can heal that trauma. It's not fixing the trauma, it's healing the trauma. My wife's not broken. I don't see her as a broken person. I see her as a person who has had a lot of pain in her life
Yeah.
and and disrespect and been let down. Some of that has been by me, some of that has been by her parents, by her previous relationships. She's not broken. She's hurting and needs the space to heal, the
Mm.
safety, the safety to heal. Men have no idea how unsafe women feel just walking across a parking lot,
Yep.
just being out in public, just being home, how unsafe a home can feel. We have no idea because we don't come from that place.
Yeah.
Um, we don't walk across the parking lot worried about anything. We just walk across the parking lot.
You never walked across the
Um,
parking lot with the keys between your knuckles?
yeah, no, we did. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we did. And I even just learning that through the program, I had an inkling. My wife has expressed for years the lack of safety women feel in different environments.
Mhm.
But we met up with an individual through Facebook Marketplace sale, and the poor lady thought that it was just going to be my wife meeting her. And when I got out of the car, I saw the look of fear on her face,
Yeah.
and I quickly smiled, nodded my head, stepped back, put my hands in my pocket, and provided the safe and the space for safety to acknowledge, ma'am, I'm
That's
not a
right.
threat.
Yeah.
You know, it's just here because I was the driver. Um, that type of that this program has opened my eyes to so much of that. I came wanting to learn tools how to fix myself.
Yeah.
I have found the tools to navigate my life, to
Mm.
navigate my emotions. Don't need fixing. I need navigation. And I'm finding that navigational tools in everyday moments. It's making my business better. It's making my relationship with my children so much better. Um,
Talk to
you
me
know,
about that. Share some of those stories because that was pretty impressive.
well, with Halloween is tomorrow or today. Today's Halloween. And years gone by, my wife has always handled the Halloween costumes. I love Halloween, but my job in my mind was you guys pick out what you want. I'll buy the stuff. We put the costume on, we go trick or treat. That was my mentality. Um, my mentality this week was interacting with my children, discovering what they wanted
Mhm.
in combination with my wife. They started sharing that information with her. And I took an early morning drive with my son when I dropped him off to school to say, hey, I heard you want to be this for Halloween. What is it? Share it with me. And I opened up that line of communication, a communication I would not have done a year ago,
Yeah.
a communication I wouldn't have done 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, as I've grown through this process. And he shared the name of the character that he wants to be. And he consistently has oddball characters that nobody knows anything about, and you can't find a costume on the shelf. It's not happening. Um, so I pulled up a picture and I said, okay, so you need blue sweatpants, you need a robe, you need crazy hair, you need crazy eyebrows and a mustache and yada, yada, yada. And he said, I already sent mommy the robe. I said, okay, cool. I'll get the mustache, the eyebrows, and the blue sweatpants and this and that. He said, what are you going to wear for shoes? And we talked about it a little bit. Um, and dropped him off at school. I brainstormed. I found the stuff that we needed on Amazon. And I reached out to my wife and I said, hey, he's interested in being this character. Can you send me the link for the robe? Because he didn't have that. He didn't have time this morning before I dropped him off. And I felt like I was taking over the situation too much. My wife
Mhm.
had expressed that I'm taking too much of a leadership role. The pendulum has swung too far. So I realized that, and I mentioned to her, if you would like to handle this, please let me know. I'm just trying to get the stuff together.
Well, even notice just in that, let me pause you right there because even just in that, old Brian or even other men listening to that might have taken offense that she was being disrespectful, that you asked me to lead and now I'm leading and now it's not good enough. But you didn't even, that wasn't even the interpretation. You're like, yeah, that probably is fair. Like there may be things she wants to take the lead on or she likes. So let me know how I can be of service. Like I'm here to help. I can handle this stuff. And it's working at that collaborative approach rather than I have to prove my worth through my actions to show I'm a good partner and do the things you've asked. You did it as a means of, this is how I want to show up as a dad. And how do we do this together?
Exactly. Exactly.
Beautiful.
It was a huge change and in the process. And quite honestly, this pendulum has swung too far the other way. Of me doing,
Yeah.
doing. So anyways, I let the 2 weeks go by. The Amazon stuff showed up. It was here for a week. And all of a sudden, Tuesday night, the uh, wife came to me and said, this is not going to be here in time. This is going to be a big problem. The robe never got ordered. She never sent me the link. I left it in her hands. Life happens, so on and so on. Children in chaos. Those with children know exactly what that is.
Mm.
So Tuesday night, instead of getting upset of, well, I told you to send me that link, you didn't do it. This is all on you. What are we going to do? Instead of, I said, okay. I took this as a situation where I could take charge again, take leadership, and said, I'll go talk to Chad, to my son, and pulled up Amazon and we brainstormed through robes that we could get and cut and modify and do to make the costume that he wanted.
Yeah.
And we thought that the robes would show up on Wednesday. Um, Good old Amazon showed up on Thursday. So yesterday night, I worked my ass off all day, got home, and my goal for the night was to be the father that I wanted to be.
Mm.
I was choosing to show up to do whatever it took to get the costume done for today.
Yeah.
And we had some malfunctions. There was last minute things that I needed to get, which I actually got yesterday morning, first thing before I went on and went to work, knowing that if I tried to do it after work, it wouldn't happen. And I would break a promise that I had made to myself
Mm.
and to my children, and to my son. I told them I'll get the ribbon, and it wasn't happening. So I did it. And I was proud of myself. That put the step forward for the rest of the day of an opportunity for me to be proud of myself and live up to a promise that old me would have just said it'll be all right without it and broken that promise.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got home. I told him, here's the raid. Try it on. Let's see what we need to do. We went through this whole process of trying to make this costume, and my perfectionism, it did not work the way I wanted it to work, but it worked enough for him.
Yeah.
And I could see each time I pulled out another part of the costume, or I put together another piece, or we brainstormed together and I interacted with, what do you want? Is this acceptable? I bought gold duct tape because I wanted to use that. He didn't like the color of it. He wanted the gold ribbon that I picked. He liked that color better. I was like, okay, that's going to make this that much harder. But if you're willing to work with me, we'll do it. And I ended up doing 90% of it. But that interaction and that working together and that bonding that we did, I sat back at one point and said, my grandpa and I used to do this. He was my costume maker. And I shared a costume that we had made
Mm.
35 years ago. And it was that bonding that I had been missing with my children.
Oh,
Because I've been stepping back and letting my um, wife handle some of that. I tried to get her involved in some of the costume, and she was overwhelmed with her day and was visible
yeah.
that was what was going on, and she needed downtime. So I was like, okay, cool. We'll don't worry about that part. We'll figure that out in a little bit. And we got everything assembled, and he had these foam shoulder pads that just would not lay flat. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. And the whole time that had been sitting in the back of my mind, when you get to this point, what are you going to do? Because it's not going to lay flat. And I thought, oh, I've got metal coat hangers. If I shove a metal coat hanger in this foam, that will give it the rigidity that it needs to shape. And so my son's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm cutting up this metal coat hanger because he's never seen a metal coat hanger in his life, and everything's plastic. You know, who goes do John? Nobody in our house has had a dry cleaning bill in 20 years. That's
Yeah.
just not who we are. Um, so he's very confused, and I put it on and I shoved that coat hanger through and I bent it down, and his eyes lit up. His face just boom. Oh my gosh, Dad, you did it. That's perfect. That's what I was looking for. And through the whole process, each time I pulled out a new piece and we put something together and started to assemble, and I said, try this on. Make sure this is right. Make sure this is where you want this. Cut the sleeves this. Where do you want? Each time that bond was stronger and the face was happier. And he's typically a very withdrawn and very emotionally reserved uh, child. And a lot of that is because of the reactionness that I've had over the years. That has changed. That has morphed into, I'm now a safe place for him to come to with
Yes.
emotions and needs and desires. And he made a comment about 3 weeks ago. Something happened, and everybody in the car expected me to lose my cool. Everybody expected me to blow up. Everybody was on eggshells waiting for that to happen. And I stopped, took a breath, and went, blowing up is not going to solve anything. This was a simple accident that happened, and everybody in the car was part of the accident that happened. None of us are responsible. It just happened. Now, what needs to happen to make it right?
Yeah.
What do I need to do? And my wife later on made the comment, we expected you to blow up. My son made the comment, I'm amazed you didn't lose your cool. Thank you for doing what you did.
Yeah.
I appreciate you." And that was the acknowledgement that I've been looking for the last 8 years or 6 years. It was all there. By me being me, it showed up on its own. I didn't have to look for it. It was there. And the appreciation from my son last night was so invigorating, so revitalizing, so heartwarming. It made my aching back, my glue covered hands, my empty stomach because I didn't eat dinner. I cooked dinner and all of that chaos. I managed to throw 2 frozen pizzas in the oven. I didn't forget about them, but I couldn't hear the buzzer. My wife heard the buzzer and pulled them out. Everybody got to eat. I was still working away on this costume. But when the costume was done and he put it on, his face just made it all worthwhile. And I knew in my heart that even if I didn't get that gratitude and that face didn't show up, and I didn't see the appreciation, I knew that I showed up as the man I wanted to be, as the father that I can be, I am being, I am there, I'm walking the walk, I am talking the talk. And through all of this, my biggest fear has been that I will regress. I will
Mhm.
go backwards and become the old me. It's not happening
Yeah.
because I'm making those decisions. I'm acknowledging progress. I'm making those permanent changes in myself.
Yeah.
I'm not choosing to make those permanent decisions or changes. I'm making the decision. I'm choosing to do one thing at a time. And it's leading me down that path, that journey. Have I made some mistakes in the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 12, I think 10 weeks into this
10
course?
weeks. Yeah. You're into it.
Um, I'm making mistakes, but I'm also acknowledging those mistakes and taking accountability,
Learning.
responding and learning from those mistakes instead of taking it and being defensive and reactive and uh, taking rejection in a negative manner. It's not rejecting me; it's rejecting the situation.
Yeah.
Not
You're not
rejecting
carrying the
me, they're
shame.
rejecting me. There's no shame in being told no or not today or this is where I'm feeling and this is what's going on. It's not rejection. It's acknowledgement of where they are, where their feelings are. Feelings are okay. Feelings are okay. Um, I'm not pushing through feelings. I'm taking the time to go, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Do I want to feel this way? No, I don't. So what do I have to do to change the feeling? Do I need to do some breath work? Do I need to take a deep breath and step back? Do I need to exercise? Do I need to eat? Am I hangry? No, my wife hangry. Um, is this perimenopause that's showing up? Is this teenage hormones that's showing up? Is this my daughter's ADHD reaction? Is this her mind not knowing what to do, being energized and being vibrating? I mean, there's times in the morning where she vibrates. She's so anxious about the day.
Yep.
Old me would push her through it. Current me acknowledges where she's at, picks her up, holds her, says, let's take a couple minutes to work through this, acknowledge this, and then we can move on to the rest of our day. And her mornings are so much better. I have to bribe her some mornings with a Nerf gun fight at the end of the day. At the end of the day, do I want to run around in the backyard shooting Nerf darts at each other? No. But you know what? The child in me, the little boy, the little boy in me goes, you know what? It's kind of fun. Let's go to anyways. Let's go for a walk. Let's walk the
Yeah.
dog. Let's do those physical activities that she needs to release all of that energy and anxiousness that she's been holding in all day. Um, So the relationship with my children has changed, I would almost say overnight. I feel so much more connected to them. I understand so much more where they're feeling, what they're dealing with. Um, Remembering, I blocked a lot of my childhood trauma at the age that my children are right now because of the divorce of my parents.
Mhm.
Mm. I, through breath work, discovered a very big T trauma for me. And where I learned my coping mechanisms of dealing with that trauma, of shoving it down, of being the strong man that doesn't have feelings, and being the good boy that doesn't cry and doesn't break down at a very difficult, traumatizing portion of my life. It's still very emotional for me, but it's not painful in the way that it was.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not something to be
Feeling
avoided, it's something to be acknowledged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. It's okay to cry because that happened to me.
Yeah.
Um, being put on a plane to fly halfway around the world from the United States to a foreign Middle Eastern country at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 was traumatizing. He had every right to be traumatized. That little boy had every right to be scared and afraid and hurt and feel those things. And I blocked all of that out, and it was affecting my connection with my children because I was not acknowledging or understanding where they are in their life. I didn't remember. I blocked it.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was to be a seventh grader, an eighth grader, a ninth grader. Even those portions of my life were traumatizing in school, little t, because I was not, quote unquote, an American. But my life that I had lived before moving back to the United States was I was the American in the school, in a school full of hundreds of foreign children from different countries and different backgrounds. That was my identity. And I came back and that identity was stripped from me because I had a British accent. I was not familiar with the American school systems, and I didn't know what the standard SAE metrics versus metric was. That's all I knew was centimeters, millimeters, and meters. And what the hell is a fuck? What the hell is a yard? How am I supposed to play football when all I've played my entire life was soccer and rugby and swam, and here I am, I gotta run 10 yards? What the hell is 10 yards? Um, how do I be an American boy? So all of that trauma that was hidden and I was suppressing and fighting and just was affecting so much of my modern day scenarios, and the breath work worked me through finding those, the leaves that lead to the branch, that leads to the tree, that leads to the root of the problem. That's part of your analogy that you use in a lot of the training. And all of that led to and showed up different trauma that I was fighting and hiding and suppressing.
Yeah.
And releasing that trauma has made my life so much fuller, so much, I'm not going to say happier, peaceful.
It's allowed you
Peace.
to be present is the overarching theme. And even just the experience of your wife and her day yesterday and not being able to participate is how most people are operating. It's like they're so tapped out mentally, emotionally, they're just exhausted. And so it's hard to be present in those moments. And through the nervous system work, through the understanding the healing journey that you've been on, that has allowed you to be present, right? It's not that you're any maybe less tired, although you are sleeping a little bit better. It's that you're choosing, yeah, I think I'm still going to be tired, but I really want to be present. I want to show up in this way. Whether my kids or my wife or my partner appreciates it or not, this is what's going to make me feel good without having an attachment to it's performative or trying to get an outcome. Because otherwise it's basically a form of manipulation. right? It's just I want to be present and I enjoy being present. They enjoy being present. And that's where connection comes in. And so if I'm
It's
thinking of
funny.
like an overall theme, it's that being present.
Yeah, absolutely. Those walks and Nerf gun fights, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, but I know that there's going to come a day when she doesn't want to do those
Yeah,
things, where she's going to
100%.
say, Dad, I'm going out with my girlfriends. Can I
There's a
have some
boy
time?
I like. Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know those moments aren't going to be forever. So I'm choosing to participate in those moments, to build that memory, to build that foundation with them so that when she does have that boy that breaks her heart, she's going to come to me or my
Yeah.
wife or us to heal that because I've shown her the processes that I am going through and the things that I am doing
Yeah.
to heal those processes. And who knows? That might be the difference between her choosing drugs, her choosing alcohol, her choosing being promiscuous
Yeah.
to heal that trauma. And, I'm trying to build those foundations. And I know that that choice in that little moment, I'm choosing to do that to be the man that I want to be, the father, the husband that I want to be present. And regardless of the appreciation,
Mhm.
regardless of the response, that's who I want to be.
Yeah.
That's where I want to come from. Um, and it shows. And for the first time ever, my wife showed interest in the process that I'm taking. Um,
Mm.
and that screams, whether she'll say it or not, that screams that she sees the change, that she
Yeah.
sees the difference, and she wants that difference. She opened up to me that she hates being home because she has so much anger towards us
Yeah.
because of resentment,
Yeah.
resentment from covert contracts, expectations that didn't get met, expectations that I or them didn't realize were there and don't know how to see, which was part of this journey, was learning to see those expectations and choosing to meet them or choosing to not meet them because that's who I want to be. Um, but all of those expectations that she's having has built resentment towards us.
Yeah.
Um, and she is acknowledging that that resentment is there and looking herself. She's been looking for the tools for a long time for that resentment. Years of therapy and changing through therapists that haven't worked. And the reality is, I have a therapist. I have this coaching program. The progress that I have made through the coaching program is light years ahead of therapy. Therapy has its place.
Yeah.
There are times for therapy. Absolutely. Was therapy going to give me the tools that I needed? No. Therapy is a third neutral party who will, in my opinion, rebound and mirror what you're feeling so that you can process the thoughts that you're having. That's
Mhm.
great. What do you do with those thoughts?
Right.
What do you do with those feelings? Where do you go from there? Okay, I can talk about how shitty my day was, but unless I'm going to change that process and acknowledge how to walk through, it's not going to do any good. And that's where she's been. Um, it's where she's been struggling. Is she's very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
Her career has taught her her master's degree. She's very, very successful, driven woman. She's an amazing, amazing person. I have always been in awe of her and her abilities um, with people and understanding who they are and where they're coming from. She has got the biggest heart I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's what drew me to her. Um, I didn't know, but the wounded person that I was craving the healing that I thought I could get from her. And
Mhm.
she has given me so much space herself for me to, and I didn't take it. I didn't do it. I didn't understand what it was. This coaching program has opened my eyes to what that is.
Yeah.
Um, and giving me the ability to turn around and provide her with space to heal. And um, we've gone from me knowing openly without a shadow of a doubt that she was out the door, that she was done in our relationship. She was checked out,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. After all of the wounds and damage by death by a thousand cuts, that last straw, that last break of trust was it for her. And through this process, I see us reconnecting. I see the bond growing. I get where she is, and only she can take the path to forgive and release the resentment. But I see now how to provide the space for that,
Yeah.
how to acknowledge that um, that that damage that I have caused,
Right.
and see the damage that I have allowed happen to me. And I'm still struggling with boundaries. That is a
Mhm.
process that I'm working on.
Oh, so we're not
And
done yet. Great.
oh hell no, I am so far from done. Um, I want this course to be a very long-term thing for me
Mhm.
to continue to grow and to truly understand, because my situation is going to change. Life is going to change. Life is going to happen. My children are going to become teenagers. Then they're going to become 20-year-olds, and they're going to go out into this world. And um, I am going to need other people to provide guidance and understanding of where they are, because I'm not going to know it all. There's no guide for this. There's no manual.
Yeah.
And by getting into and staying in this group, I look forward to supporting others that are in this group,
Yeah.
and finding that support that I need through this group. It's not just fixing my belief system, but growing my belief system and sharing my belief system with other men that are struggling in the same place that I was.
Yeah.
We had a member that I truly connected with over our last call, and I actively spoke up to defend, but also to show him where his self sabotage was lying,
Yeah.
because that was me. It was me with something else in a different situation, but that was me. And that is the community that is there that I want to be a part of, that I want to continue to grow with. It's a beautiful thing. Um, there was some guys saying kumbaya, then, an emotional roller coaster there, but there is so much more support and validation and understanding that you cannot get from your partner,
Yeah.
from your your outside influences. I have a very strong group of friends who circled around the wagon when I went through when my crisis happened. They circled around me and they picked me up and they said, "We're not doing this. You're not staying here. We're moving. We're growing. You're going to survive this. You will be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you will be." Um, they all, four of them, took a day off. Well, with their bosses, I know some of their bosses. Some of them are self-employed, but I know some of their bosses. And one boss is a very close friend of me, and I confided in him what was going on. And they all said, "We're taking a day and we're taking you to go do something that you can do and be proud of yourself for and will lift your spirits
Yeah.
and show that you're not the horrible human being that you feel like you are, that you're not the horrible husband. You're not the horrible father. You're not the
You are
horrible,
not your thoughts. Huh?
and not my thoughts. Come be the real you that we see. do something that is strong and validating for you to remind you. Create a different story, create different facts, provide different facts. So
Yeah.
they sacrificed a whole day of work to make sure that I was coming upwards. And this was before I found the program. Um, and that was a lifeline. But in those friends, there's still jaded and controversial thoughts to where I want to be, who I want to be. They need to be them. I need to be me. Um, and that was something that I found in the group that you're not going to find in your friends group. Um, and for those that can find it, that's phenomenal. The group might not be the right situation. This, coursework is not for everybody,
Mhm.
but for the men who don't have that group, who don't have that father figure or uh, friends that are the modern day husband that their wives are needing now. There's so much difference to what a husband is in 2025 to what a husband was in 2020, in
Mm.
2019, in 2000,
Yeah.
in the 90s and the 80s.
Yeah.
Don't have that example, that guidance. There's that guidance through this group.
Yeah.
There's
And
that understanding of this group.
I will acknowledge, because so kind of giving some context, I had this program as like an open closed thing. So it was like 4 weeks and then it was 8 weeks. And then I was like, it's got to be 12 weeks. We've got to live enough life for people to actually implement this. And so I think it was an original 8 guys that came in and then I left it open so that people can continue to come in and you came in shortly thereafter. And so that's really where I've seen a culture develop in this group that was not intentional on my part. I had nothing to do with that other than just getting you guys in. And when I think it was this last call, because several of them reached the end of their 12 weeks, which when we take away the coaching in the community, you keep the course, but they have the option to continue on as an alumni if they want to. And I can't remember who said it, but somebody, and it might have been you, somebody said, we want to be here for the new guys coming in so they understand how powerful this is. And that I still haven't sat to acknowledge that of how powerful that is. And I think I'll just say, I think that's something unique to men, right? Is that leadership, but it is also that brotherhood of like, we have had the experience and the change, and it's not the easy work, but let us all do this together. And I am just obsessed with you guys that have been a part of this group over the last like 2 to 3 months and the culture, the community. I mean, the new guys that have come in, they will message me being like, I have never experienced anything like that. Some of them get freaked out by it. Like they're like, that was a lot. And I'm like, I know, and stick with it. And some guys are like, I finally feel like I can just be myself in a community. We'll just start with that. Like, I feel like I can share vulnerably. And so to you and the other men that have also been a part of that in creating that culture, thank you. And especially to you, Brian, you have been unbelievably honest and transparent about your ups and your downs. And you've also showed just even the wins, like even the small wins. I remember you sharing the story about how your wife just laid her head on your shoulder and you're like, that's all I needed, right? Like, I just need to know that there's little bits of progress you have spoken into. And I adore how you showed up for that other guy this weekend and you called him out in the most loving, but like confronting way of we care. We all care. All of us were there, like trying to support him when he was really resistant. And you showed up and you led. And so, Brian, just to validate for you and acknowledge for you, what I'm seeing is a man who has stepped into his leadership completely. And and that's just, with your family, with your wife, with other men in the group. And I want to hear from your perspective, the version of Brian back end of July-ish, before kind of getting into this world. Do you think, like, what do you think he would think of this version of you?
He'd be awestruck.
Yeah.
He would be in a situation of, I didn't know that was in there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that that could be possible. I used to live by the mantra. It was a Toby Keith song. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. I
Mhm.
lived with my head in the sand. I mentioned that in our interview
Yeah.
from the very get go. And that mantra has changed to, I wish I'd known sooner what I know now. Um, to acknowledge what I didn't know wasn't a bad thing. It was just a thing.
Yeah.
Um, I handled my life with the tools that I had. I made some bad decisions. I made some wrong turns, but they also led me to who I am today.
Yeah.
And I truly have always been the man that says, I don't want to change what happened to me because it's who I am now. There was a lot of trauma before I met my wife, and I have told her from day one, I would never change any of that because if any of that had changed, I never would have met you.
Yep.
We would not have crossed paths.
Yep.
And I'm thankful for those wounds. At times, I hate those wounds at other times, but the man that I was when I found the program would be awestruck with the situation that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree. And
the
let's for context, that was 10 weeks ago.
Yeah,
This doesn't take 17 years of like deep diving podcasts and self-help books and therapy. It can turn around fairly quickly.
and this is at 10 weeks.
Yeah.
At 8 weeks, you sent me the interview, the
I
video of our interview, and I watched it and I digested it, and I don't think I responded for a couple days because I was truly acknowledging all of the advancements that I had made from the person that was on that call.
Yeah.
Um, I am very proud of how far I've come, but I also know how far I want to go. This is not an ending journey.
Yeah.
There is no plateau that you get up onto and say, I've done it. I'm here. Let's plant the flag. This is you reach that plateau and you go, oh wow, there's another one. Let's go do that.
Yeah.
Let's continue to that next flag. Let's go. I was a couple weeks ago I did make the comment that I want to be around for the next group of men that come in.
Yeah.
And yesterday I had a conversation with a very close friend of mine who wife cleaned out the bank account.
Mm.
Wife said she's done. She wants to move out. And he is in the exact same place I was 10 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
he and I have talked about this journey that I've been on in minor detail. He's seen the changes in me and it's brought tears to his eyes. He visibly cried in front of me, not sobbing, but I caught the tears and I didn't know what it was and I didn't ask. And I regret not asking because I could have reached out sooner before he got to that position. But I shared the program. I shared the information and I opened up to him on where I am in this program and what has changed. And he's seen the changes because I looked at him 8 weeks ago and said, my marriage is over. I am fighting for it. I am fighting for every inch of my marriage. Um, but I feel hopeless. And each step through the process has brought me more hope and brought me more guidance. And he's seen that hope and he's seen the change. He saw me ride the bull. I sent him the video of me riding the mechanical bull.
Yep.
And he said, I saw the smile on your face when you got up. I haven't seen that smile in years. And I said, you know why? Because I was happy with me. I was content with what I did. I knew my wife was pissed. But I had taken that chance and that decision to risk getting hurt. But I knew that was something I needed to do for me to conquer that part of me. And that showed up and he saw it. And I said, that came through this program. That came through the learning steps of who I am, what I want to do, who I want to be. And brother, that can be your process too.
Mhm.
You don't have to make the decision to save your marriage right now, but I can tell you from talking to you, you have made the exact same mistakes that I have that led me to where I was, that have led you to where you are. And you can heal. You can heal through this process. if you want to. And through this process, you'll be able to make the decision. Do I want to heal my marriage? Do I want to save my marriage? Because right now I understand you don't know that. And there are times where I question, do I want to do that? Am I doing this for me? Am I doing this for her? Am I doing this for us? And when I get to the root of my feelings, I come back to, I am doing this for me so that I can be there for her, so that we can have a beautiful marriage on the other side of this.
Love it.
That prosperity, that success, that openness, that safety can all lead to the most beautiful, healthy marriage out there. It can be the shining beacon for others around me that this is what a healthy marriage is in 2025. This can be the healthy beacon for my children to break the generational trauma of divorce and anger and resentment and frustration. The generational trauma that my wife has been through, that I have been through. You can look back in my lineage and see divorce after divorce after divorce after divorce. Sometimes in the same person, three in the same person. But my mother has a healthy marriage. But I see through this course, I see the friction and the frustration between her and my stepfather, what I call my father, what I call my dad. I see that friction and that frustration, and I see their coping mechanisms to it. And I'm like, that works for them. That doesn't work for my wife and I. We're not them. That generation is different.
Yeah.
So I shared with him the course. I can only guide, I can only shine the light. I can't pull them along.
You create the
Can't pull my light.
invitation, they have to decide whether they accept it. And that's where that healing, that codependent and that people pleaser inside of you is like, here's the opportunity. And that's a lot of what we were doing on that call on Sunday was like, here's the opportunity. You get to choose whether you take it or not. And it's the same thing with your wife. You're going to create the marriage that works for you and that you see for the vision for both of you. She gets to decide whether she wants to participate in her part. And that's what that detachment from the outcome, that you're proud of how you're showing up and it's not performative. It's not trying to win anybody over, earn love. It is rooted in somebody who knows himself well, owns his mistakes, owns the messy parts, loves the great parts, right? And it's moving. That's what's sustainable. When we do the performance of like, I've got to earn it, then that's where healing is not sustainable. And so I think you're starting when you kind of full circle moment when you shared like, am I going to regress? Am I going to go back? No, because you're not doing it to earn some sort of achievement or outcome outside of you. You realize the connection you have with yourself. Yes, now you're starting to get some of that external acknowledgement of the evolution that you've had. But really, when you're so connected with yourself and you are intentionally choosing, and I think that's what you and I specifically talked about, the intentional choices you make each day, you get to make a new choice whenever you want. So it's like, maybe you don't have the next 6 months, maybe you don't have the next year figured out because there's a lot still up in the air. Who do I want to be today? Do I want to choose to be an amazing husband? Do I want to choose to be a present father? That's the choice I have today. And I'm not going to shame myself one way or the other. I'm just going to be intentional about it and own my choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are times where I'm struggling and I go, okay, we're at a crossroad. What are we choosing to do? What is the choice we're going to make are we going to sit and wallow, or are we going to choose to step up, step forward, and move in the direction that I want to be?
The next right step.
That is a powerful place to be coming from. And you don't realize how powerful it is until even when it blows up in your face. The choice you made is the choice you're proud of.
Yeah. And you can learn from it.
And yeah, you learn from the next step.
Yeah.
What's going to be the next step? So
awesome, Brian. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much of your journey and your story. I know we're not done. So, you and I have a long, long future ahead of working through this stuff. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be a coach in the program. I'm not opposed to it. We get enough people in there, But as a personal note to you, thank you for showing up as vulnerably and as present as you do, for trusting me on this journey because I'm just a talking head on the internet. And then also being a massive part of the culture that this group has become. I could not have done it without you and the way that you show up. So to acknowledge you and the work that you're doing, keep it up, buddy. We need more men like you in the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much for acknowledging that. And
Yeah.
and I see it and I appreciate where you have opened this doorway for us to go down this journey. You talking hate is a little negative there. But
On TikTok, but got you in, didn't?
yeah, it did. In this process that you provide for us, I want to say thank you for that because I would not be where I am had you not opened that door for me to walk through.
Yeah.
And there's so many men that are walking through that door, and I hope to see so many more in the future because, like you like to say, I'm building a self-aware army,
Mm-hmm.
and you just got another soldier in there, and name it, maybe a general or whatever we want to call it. Let's build that army. I
Yeah.
want to bring more in.
Agreed. Agreed. And part of another thing I think that makes me different than a therapist, because not a therapist, is that these were the tools and the skills that I used to rebuild myself. That's why I know them so well, is because they are still active practices that I use and perspectives that I have. And so, again, every one of you guys that goes through this and starts to see these changes and starts to own the shift and actually starts to see the perspective that it really is about who you are and who you're choosing to be, that's the gift, right? And that's how I operate too, is like not looking at I'm the victim to my life and my circumstances. Nope, I'm the creator of it. I made the choices. So what do I want to do now? So beautiful. Life hack achieved. All right, Brian, thanks so much for coming on today. And if anybody listening to this is touched by Brian's story and wants to learn more about healthy mentality, you can go to unblockyourbs.com/healthy men. We'll link it up in the show notes. And you can apply to be on the program. That essentially just jumps us on a call to talk about what you got going on. There's no commitment to join. But as you can see, we can do a lot of good in very little time if we just commit to choosing this work. So
Take that step and sign up.
yeah.
Look into the window that's available to you.
Come here.
It's going.
Every Sunday.
That
Love it. All right. Thanks, Greg. Bye. If this episode hit home with you, these are the types of conversations we have weekly inside of my program, Healthy Men-tality. It's a 12-week coaching program for men, learning how human behavior comes to be, how something happens outside of you, like your partner complaining about something, and how you perceive it as an attack when really it's just a request for connection, how your emotions come to play, what even are emotions. We break it down in a real logical way where you understand, hey, that feeling I'm having is actually hormones and my heart racing, not actually something that I need to be scared of as a threat to my livelihood or my well-being. We talk about how to stop people pleasing, what codependency is, and how it shows up in your relationships. We talk about how childhood affects your adult relationships, how our nervous systems are wired in childhood to be attracted towards things that we label as love based on a childhood definition of love, which may not be working out for you. We talk about how to define masculinity in your own terms so that you can get a definition of what a man is and how you define being a healthy man and getting your own qualities and traits so that that can inform the next right step for you to intentionally take to become the man you desire to be, and even what a healthy definition of love is. Because again, we may have a broken definition of love based on childhood that probably not serving us as adults. And then finally, what relational leadership is, how to have healthy conflict so it actually creates connection rather than destruction. We go through nervous system skills and tools. These are what makes it massively different than anything like therapy, where you talk about your problems a lot. You're actually learning skills and tools in real time weekly on how to start to regulate your nervous system more, whether it's taking a pause, certain breathing patterns, and getting into repairing and healing deep-seated trauma and stuff that's stuck in your nervous system and repressing all those emotions by way of what's called somatic breathwork. This ain't box breathing, y'all. This is very intense work, but it is designed to help you understand what a regulated nervous system feels like that isn't dependent on anything outside of you changing. It is massively powerful. We have plenty of episodes that cover that if you want to learn more about it. So if you're interested in learning more about the Healthy Men-tality program and you feel like that might be the next right step for you, that you've tried therapy, that you've tried all the podcasts and the TikToks and it's just not seeing a change, or why maybe you can logically understand what's going on or you can cognitively kind of get there, but you still don't feel any better, that is what Healthy Mentality is for. So head on over to unblockyourbs.com/healthymen. We'll link it up in the show notes. That's where you can learn more about the program, hear from other men inside the program, and apply to become a member inside of Healthy Mentality. All right, until next time, have a good one.